To the world, Rick Owens is the dark prince of fashion, the master of a brutalist post-apocalyptic cool. They call him the Lord of Darkness, a designer who built a universe of black leather, dust-colored basics, and gothic glamour that seems to exist on a different planet than the rest of the industry. But what if the leather, the wild runway shows, and the architectural silhouettes are all a cover for something else? What if the unlikely American in Paris is less of a brooding artist and more of a sharp, disciplined, and brilliant world builder? Beyond the spectacle, there's a carefully constructed empire built on shocking business strategies, a radical partnership, and a personal philosophy that challenges everything we think we know about success. This isn't just a story about clothes. This is the story of how an outsider from a small town in California built a global, privately owned fashion house by shredding the rulebook. This is what they don't tell you about Rick Owens. Section 1. The Architect of an Image, Beyond the Lord of Darkness. Before he was the Lord of Darkness, he was Richard Saturnino Owens, a kid from Porterville, California. If you're trying to picture the origin story of an avant-garde icon, Porterville is probably the last place you'd look. It's a small, conservative, agricultural town. Owens grew up in a strict Catholic home, raised by a father who was so conservative that he didn't allow a television in the house until Rick was. Instead, he pushed his son toward classical literature and music, wanting to expose him to things he believed had permanent value. This upbringing created a deep tension in Owens. This wasn't just a simple case of a creative kid feeling stifled. It was a profound intellectual conflict. You could say his entire creative life has been one long argument with the values of his father. He said his drive has always been to liberate people from rigid standards of beauty and behavior, a pressure he felt intensely in his youth. His rebellion wasn't just smoking and listening to rock music. It became the philosophical bedrock of his brand. A rebellion rooted not in chaos, but in creating a sophisticated, alternative way to exist. He escaped to Los Angeles to study art, but dropped out after 2 years, finding the art world too much like a priesthood. So he pivoted to something much more practical, pattern making and draping courses at a local trade college. This led to one of the most formative jobs of his early career, working for companies that made knockoffs of designer clothing. It might have been ethically gray, but it was a master class in construction. He spent years taking apart and recreating designs from the world's biggest fashion houses, learning the architecture of high fashion from the inside out. He launched his own line in 1994, running it out of a storefront on Hollywood Boulevard. For years, it was a tiny cult operation. He was a complete outsider. The big break came when Vogue Paris published a photo of Kate Moss, shot by Corinne Day, wearing one of his signature leather jackets. That single picture put him on the international map and got the attention of Anna Wintour, who, along with French Vogue, sponsored his first New York runway show in 2002. But the Dark Lord persona often hides the real man. He's famously disciplined. His personal uniform of a black tee, drop-crotch shorts, and sneakers isn't just an aesthetic, it's a life strategy. It's about simplifying choices to save mental energy for his work. He's a fitness fanatic, not for vanity, but for the clarity and routine it provides, calling his workout regimen a ceremony. This discipline is the engine running the empire. He isn't some chaotic artist splashing paint around. He's an architect meticulously building a world. He once told a magazine, "I analyze what I did the season before and think of the logical next step. I never start from zero." This methodical, evolutionary approach is the first secret to his success. It's not about chasing trends, it's about the relentless refinement of one powerful vision. Section 2, the Lamey effect, the secret power behind the throne. To understand the Rick Owens empire, you have to know that it's not a monarchy run by one dark king. It's a diarchy, a kingdom ruled by two, and the other ruler is Michelle Lamey. Calling her his wife or muse is a massive understatement that completely misses the point. She is his business partner, his creative collaborator, and the force managing huge, essential parts of the company. Their partnership is the brand's central nervous system, and her influence is one of fashion's greatest untold stories. Lamey is a legend in her own right. Born in France, she studied law and was part of the revolutionary cultural scene of the 60s and 70s before moving to Los Angeles. There, she became a cult figure, running popular restaurants and launching her own fashion line. In the late 80s, she hired a young pattern cutter named Rick Owens. That's how they met. He worked for her. They eventually became partners in life and business, moving to Paris together in 2003 and marrying in 2006. In 2004, they founded their company, Owens Corp. They famously described their dynamic as asking a gypsy to organize a war with a fascist. It's a joke, but a revealing one. Owens is the fascist in this story, the disciplined, orderly architect. Lamey is the wild card, the intuitive, social, and spiritual force that brings a completely different energy to the brand. Her role is powerful and concrete. She leads the entire Rick Owens furniture business, which is a massive success. She's the one working directly with artisans, translating their shared aesthetic into monumental pieces of marble, alabaster, and bronze. Owens himself credits her as the creative engine behind the furniture. She also spearheads jewelry design and many of the brand's artistic collaborations. She isn't just inspiring him from the sidelines, she is actively producing major parts of the company's creative output. Owens has said, "She's out in the world, researching and bringing me things back." Their dynamic is a creative exchange. He's also made it clear that no one would ever describe her as a passive muse because she is an active, challenging force. She's the one who pushes, provokes, and connects the brand to a wider world, from artists to musicians like A$AP Rocky, who has credited Lamey with introducing him to the art scene. Lamey herself has described their relationship as a kind of productive rivalry, saying, "You do this? Boom, I'm doing that." This energy stops the brand from becoming a sterile echo chamber of one man's ideas. She introduces a raw, primal element that keeps the world of Rick Owens unpredictable and alive. The brand as we know it simply wouldn't exist without her. It's not just Rick's vision. It's a shared world they built together, a hybrid universe born from their two completely different yet perfectly complementary minds. Section 3, the business of brutalism, how an avant-garde brand thrives. So here's the central paradox of Rick Owens. How does a designer who makes challenging avant-garde clothes build a business that was reportedly pulling in $120 million a year back in 2017? How does a brand that famously rejects traditional advertising become a global force? The answer is a series of brilliant, unconventional business moves that are rarely talked about. The first and most important secret is independence. Rick Owens and Michelle Lamey privately own their company, Owens Corp. In an industry dominated by massive luxury conglomerates like LVMH and Kering, this is incredibly rare. Owens once said he considered selling, but realized it would have killed him creatively. This independence is his superpower. It means no corporate shareholders to please, no board of directors to justify his controversial shows to. He has total creative freedom, which allows him to protect the purity of his vision. That authenticity is exactly what his customers are buying. The second secret is the brand's smart structure. Owens built a multi-tiered ecosystem. The main Rick Owens line is the most experimental and expensive. Then there's Rick Owens Lily's, a more fluid line, and most famously, DRKSHDW, which launched in 2005. DRKSHDW started with denim and evolved into a more streetwear-focused, accessibly priced entry point to his world. It offers the brand's core aesthetic, the long silhouettes, the iconic sneakers in everyday materials like jersey and denim. It's a genius move. It lets younger fans or those with a smaller budget buy into the tribe without watering down the main collection. It's not about making a cheaper version. It's about creating different doors into the same universe. The third secret is his approach to marketing. Rick Owens doesn't do traditional ads. He has said, "Advertising pulls you more deeply into the fashion system than I'm willing to go." Instead, his marketing is the spectacle. The runway shows, with their headline-grabbing stunts, generate millions of dollars in free press and cement his cult status. His stores are another form of marketing. They aren't just shops. They are monolithic, brutalist temples designed to be an immersive experience. Part art gallery, part retail space, they create an aura of exclusivity that turns shopping into a pilgrimage. The fourth secret, furniture. While other designers dabble in homewares, for Owens, it's a major, serious business. He and Lamey started creating furniture in 2007, initially for their own home. He calls it his version of couture, artisanal, time-consuming work. The pieces have been shown in museums and galleries, from the Musée d'Art Moderne in Paris to MoCA in Los Angeles. It reinforces his aesthetic in a different medium, proving he isn't just selling clothes, he's selling a complete lifestyle, a world. Finally, there's production. Owens Corp has a deep, long-term partnership with its primary manufacturing facility in Concordia, Italy. This gives him immense control over quality and ethics. He is also focused on sustainability, using materials like recycled cashmere and water-saving denim treatments. This control, from raw material to retail floor, is the hallmark of a true luxury brand, but one built entirely on his own terms. He built a fortress of independence, allowing him to turn one of fashion's most unique visions into a stable and powerful business. Section 4, the philosophy of the uniform, more than just black t-shirts. To really get what Rick Owens is doing, you have to look past the clothes and into the philosophy behind them. It's a worldview built on a few core ideas that explain why his work looks the way it does, and why it connects so deeply with his followers. The first concept is glunge. It's a word he coined, a mix of glamour and grunge. That single word captures his entire aesthetic. It's about finding elegance in the raw, beauty in the imperfect. It's the idea of a beautiful, expensive cashmere sweater that has a hole in it, or a perfectly draped gown that looks like it's been dragged through dust. This isn't about looking messy. It's a sophisticated rejection of polished, conventional beauty. It's a more worldly, weathered, realistic kind of glamour. His clothes are meant to be lived in. As he famously said, "Every jacket I make has interior pockets big enough to store a book and a sandwich and a passport." That mix of practical design and avant-garde style is the heart of glunge. The second principle is architecture. Owens has said he looks to architecture for inspiration more than other fashion, specifically the logic and severity of brutalism. He cites architects like Le Corbusier and Luigi Moretti as major influences. You can see it everywhere in his work. The sharp lines, the focus on structure over color, the monumental shapes, it all comes from architecture. His clothes don't just decorate the body, they sculpt and reshape it. The long torsos, exaggerated shoulders, and dramatic drapes are all forms of wearable architecture, creating a powerful silhouette that stands apart from fleeting trends. This leads to his philosophy of the body itself. Owens's designs often blow up conventional ideas of what's considered sexy. He elongates the torso, drops the crotch of pants, and obscures the body's natural lines, treating the human form like a piece of sculpture. This is a deliberate rebellion against the narrow, often cruel beauty standards of mainstream culture. By freeing the body from those rules, he makes space for a more individual and inclusive idea of beauty. His work is a uniform for a tribe that rejects conformity. Finally, there is the philosophy of the personal uniform. As we mentioned, Owens wears a variation of the same thing every day. This isn't laziness. It's a conscious choice to reduce what he calls the static of life. By creating a uniform, he frees up mental energy for creative work. In a way, his collections do the same for his customers. He provides a complete, consistent aesthetic universe. You can build an entire wardrobe from his pieces because they all speak the same language. It is, in his own words, a non-flashy alternative, a way to look intentional without chasing trends. These ideas, glunge, architecture, the body as sculpture, and the uniform, are what elevate Rick Owens from a designer to a philosopher. He's not just selling clothes, he's selling a compelling worldview. He's offering an alternative set of values. Find beauty in imperfection, build your life with discipline, reject conformity, and create your own standards. That is what his followers are truly buying. If you want more of fashion's greatest icons, hit subscribe.